Moviesucktastic is a podcast about bad movies and the people that love them. But it's more than just a podcast, it's also an online presence. If you want to know more about Moviesucktastic or want to become a part of Moviesucktastic, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter at Moviesucktastic, you can find our blog at boothreviews.blogspot.com, or if you want to give your own reviews that we might use on the show, you can go to reviews.moviesucktastic.com and check out our own little lunch.com community for Moviesucktastic. Check us out and become a part of the show, because the only thing more fun than a bad movie is sharing it.
You're getting closer and closer to the most unnatural kind of death.
You have killed, and you will kill again.
Beyond shock, beyond horror, into total terror.
What was that?
Murder runs wild. Blood runs cold. Terror runs deep red. Everywhere you turn, death is running with you. Deep red. It'll put you into deep shock. Deep Red, rated R.
You are listening to Moviesucktastic.
Dude, no! Oh!
And we are back yet another week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Moviesucktastic.
That's right. Fuck y'all.
Wow.
Sorry.
I wouldn't go that far.
You know who you are. Everybody else, ignore that.
Everybody knows who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, our stream's not working.
What are you talking about? I'm looking at it.
Really?
I'm looking at it. It says live, 3 minutes, 38 seconds.
Mine says not available right now.
I'm looking right at it.
Well, ignore me then. I'm glad to be wrong.
I'm going to show everybody. I just put it on the screen. It says live, 3 minutes, 57 seconds.
Oh, okay. The link you sent me didn't work, but I see it now. Okay. Now I got to pause it because there's the lag and it's driving me insane.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Don't do that.
All right.
There you go.
So the person proving me on is Joey, and I am the now smooth-chinned Scott.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, what a difference. Like,
check out last episode, see what happened. I shaved off my COVID beard. 1 year to the day. Got rid of it. Starting fresh. Getting ready for pool season. Just, so much weight gone.
That beard must have weighed at least a couple of pounds.
It was something.
That was something.
Yeah, so welcome to Moviesucktastic, where we talk about movies. And if you don't want to listen to people talk about movies, don't click on the link in YouTube, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, all of these videos that we post, it very specifically says that this is a Moviesucktastic review.
Yeah, and you
expecting anything else, we shouldn't even waste our time with a response.
And you know what? If you're upset that it's not a 10-minute little, top 10 list or something, it's called an attention span. Shut the fuck up, or go watch PewDiePie or whatever the fuck's out there now. I don't know.
PewDiePie.
Whatever.
Yeah, all this shit is these days. It's literally snippets. It's reaction videos, unboxing videos, something that will take 5 to 10 minutes of your time, and
which is great.
Listen, if I'm looking for a movie review, and I see that it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, I probably, might not click on that because it's like I would just like the 10-minute version.
See,
but
for me, it depends on the film.
It depends on the film.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is a podcast which you can find on iTunes and Google, iHeartRadio, all Stitcher, all the other places. This isn't intended to be a quick, we delve into this. It's what you would call in the movie industry as a slow burn.
We're adults. We have an attention span. We like to talk about things. And yeah, 5 or 10 minute videos is I watch them too, but they're great for someone that's building a brand to franchise and make money. We're not making a fucking dime off of this.
No,
and
this costs us money.
Yeah, and we don't care.
No, we don't care.
Oh, by the way, you mentioned it. Reaction videos and unboxing videos. If you're a fan of those, kill yourself. What the fuck's wrong? What fuck wrong you?
I don't understand the reaction videos. The
reaction videos I almost get, but the unboxing things is, I'm gonna watch somebody else open something.
Yeah.
Best Christmas ever.
I know. But the reaction videos, I don't for 1 second believe that your reaction is actually genuine.
I still want to do a reaction video of me watching Avatar. The whole film, the whole thing's like this.
We could probably just put a static image of you in the corner.
Yeah, right. It's a slideshow of 3.
Every once in a while, we'll change it up where it's like maybe a couple of frames different, like the eyebrow lift.
Every 50th image is just a quick shot of me with a gun to my head. But speaking of death.
No, let's not do that.
Well, no. Well, this episode, we are reviewing. This is probably the first Giallo film we've actually reviewed.
Yeah,
possibly.
Possibly.
I'm pretty sure.
But plenty more on the way because we are in the 70s and going into the 80s.
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be more of these.
Yeah. So very quick setup. Our current, if you're not familiar with the show, our current setup is that every episode, one of us challenges another one to a movie review that we have to do. And we're going by year, starting from my birthday, because I'm the oldest. And right now we're in 1975.
Yeah.
And my challenge to Joey was the Dario Argento film, Deep Red.
That's right.
Now, this is a film I've mentioned in previous episodes. I've often mentioned my disdain for Argento in the past, and I was a huge fan of his as a kid. He's like other artists that, like, as a kid I liked, and then as an adult I really realized they were hacks, like George Romero, for example.
Sure.
And they still, their old stuff still has credit, but everybody like gave these people this worship status, and they just lived to not fulfill it. Kevin Smith's another one. Although he's done some he's redeemed himself a little bit in my eyes with some of his films recently, but not a lot of them.
Well, sure, like Tusk. We reviewed Tusk, and we really enjoyed that.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed that, and which shows I'm not just holding grudges. I'm willing to look beyond stuff. And Deep Red, I was happy to have as our first Giallo review because I still say to this day this is my favorite Argento film because it's the closest he's ever come to having a reasonable plot.
Yeah, that is for sure. And there's multiple cuts of this film. Multiple.
Right. Now,
I think there's 3 main ones, which is an export version, which I believe is actually, I know it's the one I watched. It's an hour and 45 minutes. And there is a director's cut. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. A VHS cut or a Laserdisc cut, which was an hour and 41.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like the full uncut version, which is an hour or 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Right. I watched both the export cut and the director's cut.
Okay.
Because I want to do things like that, and I gave Joey a choice on which one he was going to watch.
I ended up watching the export, not because it was shorter, but it was just the one that I had.
Which is fine, because really, in some ways, you're not really missing anything, but in other ways, you are.
Right.
So that'll be interesting discussion.
Okay.
So you take the wheel, sir, please.
So the film starts off. This is a very artistic film. Just get it right off the bat. I mean, it does some very, for the time period, it does some very inventive things, like the first person perspective in a lot of the shots. And I'm sure it's not that it hasn't been done before, but for this time period, it probably hadn't been done very often. Well, I can't really think of another film that did it like this.
One thing I can point out for you is that one of the common things of the with the giallo films is POVs of the killer, like stalking their prey.
Right.
Usually with leather gloves, it's a big thing. So
well, sure. that's to hide, because in most instances, if you see the hands, you could pretty much tell if it's a man or a woman. If you put the gloves on,
that's the whole point,
it hides that, and it kind of keeps the suspense of who is actually killing a hidden secret longer. So.
And Argento is also heavily influenced by Hitchcock, so you got a lot of those close-ups of the eyes,
right,
and facial expressions, things like that. A lot of sudden jumps and zooms and things, and yes, sometimes they work.
Sometimes they work. So the film opens up with this child's music playing.
Oh, the opening credit scene. Yeah,
the opening credit scene, where you basically just see like a silhouette of someone stabbing someone. Mm-hmm. You know, very Hitchcockian, where it's you know, it's very similar to that.
With a childhood theme in the background that comes up throughout the film.
Exactly, and then you see a knife. You see a knife on the floor, and you see legs walk up to it.
Little kitty legs.
Which you which you are to believe as a child. Picking up the knife or going to the knife.
Now, first thing I want to mention is that both versions that I watched have that same opening, although it the scene comes in the middle of the opening credits, which I've seen people say how like this is a nice jarring scene, and I just think it's wrong. I think it should have come before the opening credits. I don't know why they stuck it in the middle, because the opening credits have the Goblin soundtrack. Which anybody not familiar with Goblin is anybody that loves Argento loves Goblin, which is this I got electronic
rock kind of rockish kind of, definitely, you know, electronic. They use synthesizers and Moogs and things like that to drive their music. So
the first Argento film I ever saw was Demons as a kid, and that has a Goblin soundtrack too.
Right. Which Argento's used them for every movie, or just about.
He's the reason people know who the hell Goblin is. My opinion.
No, it's not your opinion.
I'm not into music.
It's fact.
I'm not into music. If I was, maybe I know otherwise.
I think one of my box sets, maybe Suspiria or Opera, I forget which, came with the Goblin soundtrack. It was.
I would lean towards Suspiria on that. I don't. But
I want to say. I mean, it's in that closet back there. I'm not going to go get it.
It's been a while since I watched Opera.
I think Suspiria, it's a 3-disc set. It's one of those, one of 40,000 or 30,000 DVD sets that they were coming out with. Mm-hmm. Opera was the one that you had to send back. Did you have to do that with your Opera?
Yeah. I remember that.
There was something wrong with the disc, like it was pressed incorrectly. Mm-hmm. Like if you looked around the center, it was like all bubbles and stuff, and the layers were actually starting to separate, and it hadn't even been used yet. It was just a manufacturing defect.
Yeah.
So you had to they gave you an envelope, and then you put your DVD case and everything in this. You sent it to them. They put new discs in, and they put a label on the actual the sleeve, the insert, that said Opera like V2 or version 2, so that you knew that you got the updated discs.
I think I sold mine eventually. I don't think it's in my final collection now, but
still have
I do remember
mine.
doing that.
I still
had to
have
do the
it.
same thing with one of the episodes. I think Chimes of Big Ben of the Prisoner series.
Oh, okay.
Not to get off track.
The only other one I remember, and I actually didn't do it, which in the end it didn't matter because I have them on Blu-ray, is the Back to the Future trilogy. Apparently, the aspect ratio is all messed up. Like it's I think it's a 1.85, but it's intended to be a 2.35 or a 2.40. So
Sounds like the Criterion of Time Bandits.
yeah. So it they ended up doing that where you had to send your box set and they replaced the discs, and I just never did. But I have it on Blu-ray, so because they were saying in the Back to the Future trilogy there were a lot of scenes that were getting cut off that you didn't see, or say you missed the joke because of how it was cut, or the aspect ratio cut off those parts of the movie. But yeah, the opera, you had to send it in and get your discs replaced and all that stuff.
I want to remind somebody listening that I was asked to keep this episode short.
I'm sorry. I'm exhausted and I had a shitty day, and I asked Scott, I was like, maybe we'll keep this one like short, like maybe an hour. And we're already, I don't know, 17 minutes in. So, hey, enjoy this. Because I don't usually, when I'm tired, I usually just let Scott run.
And I refuse to be used like that.
That's not what you told me last night.
Well, but all I wanted to say is that even though they're similar, there is I didn't like worry about the exact difference, but there is a bit of a difference in like the placing of that scene in between the opening credits and the edits. And in the director's cut, for some reason, when those two kitty feet step towards the knife,
right?
In the director's cut, it's sped up, so they like boom.
Oh.
It's very subtle. Only an idiot like myself might notice it, and I don't know why they did it, except they just felt like maybe the kid slowly walking towards the knife didn't work. I don't know. It's a very stupid little thing.
Speeding it up seems silly to me.
That's what I'm saying, and it's barely perceptible, except I noticed. Okay. So I'm not saying it makes a huge deal, but it's like, why even bother? I don't know.
So you can fast forward. Her name is Helga, and she's not a psychic, but she can read people's minds.
It's a psychic convention. Yeah, it's a psychic. Now, real quick, the big difference between the director's cut and the export cut is that the director's, that for some reason they cut out, and I know for pacing, they did it for pacing. There's a whole subplot involving nothing except the fact that the pianist and the reporter are like a love interest. There's there's like a bunch of scenes where they're flirting with each other, and they kind of cut all that out. What? Arm
wrestling.
Yeah, well, they left the arm wrestling in.
Which I believe is a take on the ending, and when we get to it, I'll bring it up again.
Okay. Oh, it definitely is. Yeah, there's a whole theme going through this. But what I wanted to mention is, in the version you saw, it starts off with the psychic convention.
Right.
But in the director's cut, before that, there's a brief scene with our pianist hero working with a jazz band, and I remember when I watched the export cut first, the one thing I thought was, for a guy who's a pianist, I just like saying pianist. For a guy who's a pianist,
it's like that old Animaniacs episode.
We only see him play the piano once in this whole film. Well, there's two more scenes of him playing piano that was cut out.
Yeah,
that's in the director's cut, and you don't need it.
No,
because he tells you he plays the piano so many times. Confusing.
I'm a pianist.
Yeah.
You ever see that one episode of Animaniacs?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Where I think that's the one that had Mozart in it, and he keeps telling the Animaniacs that he's a pianist, and they keep putting soap in his mouth.
That's all, folks.
Yeah. So she's at this convention, and she says that she can. There's animal cruelty right there. I mean, I don't know what the fuck Argento was thinking. I mean, I guess you could get away with this shit. There's like 3 scenes of animal cruelty in this, like legit animal cruelty.
Yeah, the lizard scene I thought was cut out of certain versions. That might be the VHS version you were talking about.
I believe so.
Yeah, I've always seen that scene, so I'm not familiar with a version without it, but there's got to be.
Well, the thing is, I read that the animal cruelty scenes were removed, and then they were added back in like 2010.
Yeah, that's probably the versions we were watching.
Yeah.
And the ones they didn't use, they used in. Never mind. Continuing.
Did they use them in something else?
No.
No.
I was going to make a joke, and I thought better of it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So the psychic during the whole psychic presentation is like, "Oh, John, yeah, you have keys in your pocket." It's like,
yes.
"Oh, wait, somebody's killed a man."
You have keys in your pocket.
Mine.
A long one. You have a long key in there. But yes, and then she starts screaming, and it was so loud.
Yeah, a lot of close-ups, a lot of different camera angles.
You've killed, and you will kill again.
POV shot of the killer giving themselves away by like, "Oh, I got to get out of here. Excuse me, pardon me."
Yeah, if anyone was just looking around, it'd be like, "Oh shit,
Right.
Might want to keep an eye on that one."
So, and that's a setup for our pianist friend is
Right.
hanging out in a plaza with his alcoholic gay fellow pianist.
And who plays the piano to survive, and
Right.
he plays the piano, our hero, investigator, detective, however you want to call it, for art.
Yeah, right. And so while they're down there, he sees a woman being killed in a window, and he dashes to help her. And the main focus of the film, or the main focus of the whole mystery, is that while he's running down this hall to try to save this woman that has all these weird pictures in it, he runs down the hall, and later he's like, someone removed a painting, because I swear there was something's different about this hallway, and that's like the nagging thought that gets him involved.
Right. And his drunk friend, they're talking about it. He goes, "Well, maybe it was something important." I'm sorry, what? Something important.
Now again, this is something where I'll give to Argento. That shot where the two guys are getting further and further away as they're talking and they're yelling at each other.
Right.
This murder drives a wedge between this friendship, which we don't even know until like the third act.
Yeah.
Right. So we're kind of telegraphing that with this.
Or if you're paying attention, you kind of think something's up when you don't see him for about an hour plus. It's just when I was just like, where's his friend? I mean, like
he's out drinking. We've established that.
Yeah, no, it definitely there was a little something more there. When he kind of disappeared for a long time, I'm like, okay, something's up. It's like you don't just introduce this character just to never show them again. They're going to appear again at some point, and I feel like it might be important.
Well, he talks to him. He's a close friend, so he later talks to him more about the case, and that's where he's like, don't get involved. It's not going to end well. Don't. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Right.
And again, one of the edited scenes is just the two of them. It's like 30 seconds. Like it's just them at a bar playing on the piano together, and it's just like showing that how close they are.
Right.
Not needed for the plot.
No.
But it's just a nice little. It's a nice little thing to show you that there really is a relationship here.
Yeah. What I'll probably do, the copy that I will end up keeping is probably going to be the 2 hour and 7 minute one. I'll probably. Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to keep the export cut.
I'm keeping both because I'm weird like that. But
I usually do the same thing. But I feel like a film like this, I don't need to waste the hard drive space.
It depends on the film. It depends on the person.
Yeah.
This is the kind of I see enough value in the two different cuts that I want to keep them both. Sometimes I just keep the director's cut, but in this case, the export cut has something to it for me.
Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe if I can, we'll see.
Watch the director's cut first, and then make the decision.
That means I'd have to watch this again. I don't know. Maybe.
All right. So one thing. Here's an
Here's
example.
the thing. Well, real quick.
After you.
No, the pianist. He he hears the scream, and he's with his drunk friend, who is drunk at the time, like really drunk. He hears the scream, and it turns out that it's this Helga woman who was murdered, which is also his neighbor.
Yeah.
He lives, I believe, below her. She lives above him.
Like they all live in
like
the same building.
Yeah, it's kind of weird like that. So, I mean, he gets involved. He kind of gets more involved because it's a neighbor, and it's someone that he kind of knew, or not really, but they lived in the same building. So he kind of feels like it's his responsibility in some way.
Here's one of the differences between the director's cut and the export cut that I think is important. Watching the export cut, and I hadn't watched this in decades, so it was a nice refresher. And I'm watching the export cut first, and halfway through, when they're breaking into elementary schools,
right?
I'm like, wait a minute, why the fuck are you playing detective again?
Yeah, there's no reason.
Why are you
for
doing
it.
this? Right. So the one thing they kind of take some time with the love interest angle to also underline is the fact that since he's been to the one crime scene and didn't call anybody and left fingerprints everywhere, he's now a prime suspect.
Right.
So now it's like, I need to find out who did this before they arrest me.
Right.
That's an explanation that's lost in the export cut. All you get is, oh, well, the reporter asked me to help, so now we're going to solve a crime. It's just, it gets a little silly. Again, when he breaks the glass of the elementary school, I was like, what are we doing again? And then later in that scene, she's like, maybe I should call the cops now. He's like, yeah. I was like, well, why now? But you realize that why now is because now they can prove who the murderer is. But when you remove that, it's just kind of weird. Like, now we've crossed the line. Now let's get the cops involved.
Let's do something.
I do like the fact, though, and you never told me this, that in Italy, cops drink espresso at the crime scenes. I thought that was amazing. I love that shot.
Yeah, I mean,
and the one's upset when there's not enough espresso for him. Is like,
you forgot the sambuca. What's wrong with you?
And how do I know it's espresso and not coffee? Because of the tiny cups.
The tiny cups. Yes.
Yes. Not a heathen.
No.
Now, as an Italian, how did you feel about this film?
Well, I mean, it's directed by Italians in Italy.
But beyond that, I mean, did you like anything?
What do you mean, did I like anything? what does that even mean?
No, I just... What did you think of it from an Italian standpoint? I mean, this is a far cry from Going Ape or Titanic. Going to America!
Yeah. It was fine. I don't really know how to answer this question.
And no, I'm saying anything jump out that you thought was interesting from an Italian point of view? I don't know.
Well, I mean...
I have no culture, so I have no reference.
No. Well, you have to also remember, I grew up in a household of where Italian was spoken mostly, and we had a satellite dish put on our house for Rai Uno television, which, if anybody knows what that is a 24-hour channel, or channels, because I believe there's more than one, of just Italian programming all day.
No one knows that.
Well, some people might. Well, anyway, when I watch films like this that take place in Italy, filmed entirely in different parts of Italy, it does have that Rai Uno feel to it, in these different locales that they use, and essentially how the landscapes look, and how the actors, act on screen and whatnot. I get these little flashbacks to growing up as a kid in my house while my parents would watch Italian television, because they would show, at night, they would show Argento stuff. They would show all kinds of things, movies and whatnot, all the time. So I definitely, it's very familiar.
Did it make you yearn for the motherland is what I'm asking you.
Well, I've always wanted to visit. I never have. My wife, who's
Okay.
Irish, spent 2 weeks in Italy. I mean, it just kind of means that I should at some point go there, because, I can't not go there. As a matter of fact, the house that my father grew up in still stands over in Naples. So I should go and see where he grew up and the street that he grew up on. It would be kind of interesting because from what I understand from my uncle, who goes often enough, nothing's really changed.
But you could kind of live it through this movie, couldn't you?
Live it? No.
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 All right. But there's some great imagery from Italy in there. I like it, like the countryside and then the city and
of course.
that square that it's filmed in with that giant statue. That's a very great scene.
Yep.
Get great visuals. Argento's good with that. He knows how to handle a camera, but he gets a little full of him. He's like Sam Raimi. Sometimes he gets to go a little bit over crazy with, now let me do something wacky with the camera. So, Dario, please.
Dial it back a little bit.
Yeah. So he decides he's going to solve the case with this reporter. Now, the reporter played by, what's her name again? That's
it's
Gianna, Dario Nicolodi.
Daria Nicolodi, who
Now
is his wife at the time.
No, partner.
I thought they were married.
I don't believe they were actually married. I believe partner. It's like like Clint Eastwood with what's her face.
But they were romantically entangled.
Yes, yeah. No, they were partners for a long time, and she worked on many of his other films too.
Right. And what's interesting is her name in the film is Gianna.
Gianna.
Which that's my sister's name, but it was never, and it's different dialects from different parts of the country. Her name was never pronounced Gianna. My sister's name is pronounced Gianna. So I don't know. It must be a regional thing. Different parts of the country will pronounce it differently. The pianist
is played by David Hemmings, and I got to tell you, I like him in this movie.
Yeah.
Hemmings has a very likable, personable way about him, and he's very sympathetic. Maybe when he's not like rough handling the kid near the end.
Well, yeah. Where the hell did you get this? I drew it. There is no way that you did this.
He's like a pushover. He's a pushover and a wimp with everybody in this film. But the minute he sees like an 8-year-old with a drawing he doesn't like, he's like grabbing her by the arms, like, "Where did you get this?"
Well, and she was also the one that shoved the needle or the spike in the gecko.
He didn't know that. All he saw was the drawing.
That's all he saw.
Yeah. So, but after this killing, there are more killings.
There are more.
And they're all connected to the first killing but again, this is where Dario Argento stuff always falls apart because there's no reason behind it.
No.
So we have to assume that the killer is following Marcus, the pianist. All the time.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry. So the copy that you watched, was it in Italian with subtitles or English?
It was in English. It was dubbed English, but
there were certain parts that
the parts that weren't restored from that weren't in the export cut are in Italian.
Right, with subtitles.
Right.
Yeah. So what I noticed is, because this is the first time I've seen this. I mean, I've seen just about everything Argento has done, but I never have seen this. So David Hemmings, he's obviously British, because he throws in a, bloody hell, and he sounds like Arthur. He sounds like Arthur, dialed back a little bit, just a little.
You mean not drunk? Okay.
Well, no, he sounds a little drunk, like if Arthur had just enough to catch a buzz. That's what he sounds like. It's like it's a little joke. it's just like he just sounds a little bit like Arthur, and I thought that was fun, unintentionally fun.
So here's where Argento stuff always falls apart, and maybe it's true for all Giallo, I don't know, but this is the kind of stuff where I overlooked it as a kid, but as an adult, it's unforgivable. This is how the progression goes. So Marcus is talking to the guy who was a close friend with the psychic and his friend.
Oh, yeah, he was at the convention with her. He was sitting next to her.
Right. So they're talking, and the one guy's like,
name?
They mentioned that she said she thought she heard like a kid's song. So the one guy goes, I read this book once that had a story about this murder, and it involved a kid's song. You should check out the book. And of course, it's directly related to the murder. And so so Marcus goes to the library and pulls a Chinatown with the book, rips the page out. One thing I found interesting, and has no bearing on anything whatsoever, in the director's cut, they show it's an Italian book, but in the export cut, it's an American book in that scene. They actually have two different books.
Oh, really?
Again, I just found it interesting that they took the time to say, okay, let's put an American book in the American one instead of just throwing a subtitle on, or the export one.
Right.
I don't know. I found it interesting. So, and he's like, oh, so he goes to a coffee shop, and he has to shout this conversation, so the killer overhears him. I'm going to go talk to this woman who wrote the book. So, of course, the killer's got to kill the author of the book.
Right.
Because, I mean, he's already read it. And then the author of the book, the killer has to play the kid song to get in the mood. It's just, one of the killer's things. And so the author of the book, I love this part where the author was like, oh, my house is empty, but suddenly there's a doll hanging from a noose in the room. Let me investigate further.
Yeah.
Let me leave the house, walk around it, and go back in. And then when the lights go out, and she hears the song, immediately she's like, oh, yeah, it's that kid from my book. Yeah. And then, again, this is what Argento's known for. It's a very gruesome death where he drowns the woman in boiling water, or in very, very hot water.
Right. And the killer is running the water. It's boiling hot. Shoves her head in there, lifts it up. You get to see some damage. It's all red. Back in, back out, back in, back out, and then finally just, it's like all just messed up. Ugh, my face. Yeah. So, yeah. And then what's funny is the next day the maid is cleaning up, and she's Marcus goes and talks to the psychic, the friend of the psychic, and he's like, well, I'll go over there and investigate myself, actually. And it's like, you're gonna do what?
What are you guys doing? Someone call the cops.
Yeah, leave this to the professionals. So he goes over there, and the maid is cleaning up, and she's talking about, there's so much blood in here, and I'm going to clean it up right now. And she goes and she starts wiping it up off the sink, and he's just looking. And the one thing you notice is the author is pointing when they do pointing towards something. So when he goes to visit, he sees it's not a chalk line. The cops did show up at some point. It's a tape line, and they have a tape line of her hand pointing at something.
You can't chalk linoleum.
No.
Or tile. You can't chalk tile. Come on, man.
Sure, I believe it was rug.
Now,
that it was actually.
I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah.
Because again, this is where stylistically, the death scene where the woman, in her last breath starts drawing in the steam on the tile and then dies, and then the open window and all the steam slowly dissipates. Beautifully shot scene.
Right.
Logically, that this guy walks in and figures it out in 5 minutes.
No.
Fuck no. Fuck no. And I'm sorry, they're not going so far as we should also make sure we specifically tape that one finger around, because that's going to be important. We're not going to check it out, but we're going to want to know what's pointing there for no obvious reason. Let's make sure that, should we get the toes too? No, let's work on the one finger, and we'll get from there. Silly, beautiful, fun, but stupid.
Yeah, agreed.
So now, the psychic's friend, he's like, oh, were the cops here? Yeah, they didn't say they knew the killer, right? No, it's like, I know who was. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go home and drink tea.
Well, yeah.
Can you explain to me why
she asked him, she goes, what? She's like, what are you doing? He goes, I just want to know who the killer is.
Right. And now I do, and I'm just going to go home and wait for a phone call. Because there's no danger involved, since someone seems to be killing random people that are involved with this murder somehow.
Right.
Now, again, this bothered me. We go back to, and what's the guy's? I keep calling it the psychic's friend, but I will stick with that. The psychic's friend is back at his house.
It Professor Giordani?
Yeah, there you go. The professor goes back to his house. Got this beautiful ornate office, and we go to him in his office, and he's concerned. He gets up, and he walks all the way down this long hall to another room to pour himself a cup of tea.
Okay.
Why are you keeping the tea all the way from the? Are you trying to Are you trying to ration the tea? You're trying not to drink too much of it? Wouldn't you just bring the teapot into the office? There's another table. You could put it there. It's just a weird, and it's got to be cold by now. How long has it been sitting there? And you're going to walk in and pour yourself a cup of tea. Little thing, again, visually, it's compelling, but why the fuck are you walking across the house for a cup of tea?
I don't know.
And did you notice that Argento has a thing about people dribbling?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, the psychic does it, and then the professor does it.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about the weirdest fucking scene in this film.
Okay, let's do it.
Actually, I was watching this late at night, and my older daughter walked in the room. She's like, "Oh, what do you want?" You know, she'll see I'm watching the thing and hang about for a few minutes. So she comes just in the scene where he's standing there. It's like, "There's somebody here, and I don't know who," and I've got a sword, and I'm gonna wait. And the door opens, and the
puppet.
What do you want to call like
marionette puppet thing?
Wind up, dumbest fucking thing you've ever seen.
Jigsaw before Jigsaw made it cool.
Yeah, it's on. There's 2 movie posters of this. One is of that doll.
I have one in the slideshow.
And the other one is the doll hanging from the news.
I believe I have both in the slideshow. Maybe. I don't know. I know I have the doll for sure.
And the doll again. Now, let's circle around.
Okay.
There are sequences. There's 2 or 3 sequences where we come to a velvet table covered with kids' toys.
Okay.
And the camera does little close-ups. And then the leather glove will come out and pick one up. And this has absolutely nothing to do with anything in the film, period. Yes, a kid saw a murder. But apart from the wind-up marionette jigsaw freak doll that runs across the room as a distraction, when you really didn't need a distraction, the killer could have just come in through the side door.
True.
But instead, the killer has to set up the. But there's when they show these tableaus, like the killer, like the first time you see it, it's like this long, drawn out thing, marbles, little devil toy, and it comes to like a little baby, and the little leather glove comes and picks up the baby, and you're like, oh, this is important. No, it's not. Never comes up again.
No, not at all.
It's and it would make sense that we were focusing on all these toys if there was a child involved.
Well, he tries to make you think that.
But
believe me, it makes no sense. But and believe me, I agree with you. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to make you think that the kid that he introduces, the one that is torturing animals, has something to do with it in some way. Much like in the way when the reporter comes in, what's her face? Gianna Brezzi. Gianna Brezzi. I got to roll those R's. Brezzi.
I can't do that anymore. I used to.
Oh, just work on it. You'll be fine. When she comes in and she's just like, "Hi, everybody. Hi. I'm here to, look at this crime scene and hang out because I'm a reporter." He kind of makes you think that, okay, something may be involved with this person, because he then does that later on when the house is burning.
Now, here's something else. Director's cut. There is no point where you seriously consider that she's the killer, because they have so many scenes of them together and working together. When you get rid of all those romantic or flirtatious scenes in the export version, up until the time that she gets spoiler, I mean, do we have to say spoiler alert? We're talking about a movie, where of course we're going to talk about all the aspects of it. Fucking grow up.
If you look at the review and you see that it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, we're talking about everything.
But up until the point where she gets stabbed, she's a possible candidate.
Yes, in the export version, which is the one that I watched.
Right, and I felt the same way. But then watching the director's cut, it's like, oh, totally different. There's no way she's not even a contender. I mean, the scene with the house burning,
right?
Which, by the way, great. I hate to pick on the special effects, but they could have not shown the picture of the house with like flames coming out of the windows. Where you can tell that the flames are this big and the picture's like that. Yeah. They could have just not shown that and had that blurry background. That would have worked.
Yeah.
It really worked.
It would have.
The House of the Screaming Child.
But in the export version, when you see her, because she meets him at the scene because he left her a note saying that he was going to go investigate it. Oh, there's the doll. There's the poster with the doll. The shot that he has of her, where it just has almost like this maniacal kind of look, almost like
very mysterious. Yeah.
Yeah, she has this look on her face where it's like it kind of steers you in the direction of she might be involved.
Yeah, no, but again, director's cut doesn't even occur to you. It's like, no. Now, that's the house scene.
Right.
Can we talk about the house scene?
Let's talk about the house scene.
How long was that scene? Hour and a half?
68 minutes, I think.
All right. What the fuck? This is the things where Argento becomes obsessed with showing stuff. So we got to show the house, we got to show the angles, and he's walking through the house and he's looking at the glass, and then he's going through a hallway. Then he finds a cut. He's like, oh wait, there's something behind this plaster. The child's drawing. This has to be a clue. Does it really? Well, of course it is. And then he leaves and he comes back later and it's darker. He's like, now I'm going to scrape more off. And he's like, my God, can we make this scene any longer?
I know.
Guess what? We can.
Oh, in the director's cut, it's
Because
longer?
in the director's cut, they have an extra scene. When he leaves that painting,
Yeah.
he goes down to a flooded basement and digs around to find the little tool that he uses to scratch off the plaster. The most unnecessary thing you could ever put in a film. It's like, let me find... He could have just, like, bent... Like, the house is in shambles. He could have just picked up a fucking piece of metal at his foot, and you wouldn't even thought twice. Oh, a broken hinge. Yep.
But you know what's interesting?
They show him go into the basement.
You know what's interesting? I'm watching the film, and he's using his hands to start off with.
Right.
And then he's got a tool that he's using, and
he
no
leaves
joke,
and comes back.
But no joke, I'm like, I was like, oh, where'd he get that thing from? I'm like, I'm assuming he got it somewhere in the house, but you're
gonna love this then, because you're gonna love the lengthy scene where we show him wander down, and then a still shot of a flooded basement, and he climbs down the stairs, steps over the water on these flooding, on these desks and stuff, leans over, and you can hear like he's looking for something. This is a nice establishing shot, and then it cuts to him up at that. Then it cuts to what you see him, where he's like, "Oh, I'm back now, and I'm going to start scraping," because it wasn't long enough.
No.
And then he's like, "Oh, wait a minute! There's a window there. It's supposed to be there. Should I check to see if there's a door that was covered over first? No. Let me climb out on the ledge.
Start banging at the house."
Yeah. Now, him climbing out on that ledge to try to break a hole in the wall with like the hammer from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh.
The one thing I don't believe whatsoever is that while he's up there, he drops the flashlight and like it breaks through the glass into this greenhouse.
Right.
Then once he slips and falls, there's this lengthy scene of him, let's build the tension. Is I got to climb down and not fall. They cut back to him inside the house again. This time he's like, oh, maybe I should look for a door first. And he got the flashlight. No way he found that flashlight.
No. That was
a neglected greenhouse for like 20 years. Fell through the glass. He's not digging for that. That should have been a whole scene.
It would have been better than him trying to find the scrape tool.
Yeah, they spent all the time with the director's cut showing him going. And why did he go into the basement to look for a scraping tool? This is a huge house. Like, let me check the flooded basement first.
No reason for it. And like you said, he probably could have just picked up something off the ground. And to be honest, if that scene did exist of him going in the basement, because the house is in shambles, they could have very easily had him just look around the room he was in and find something.
That's what I just said. Yeah.
And it would have been believable. Oh, you did just say that?
I did. Well, like 5 minutes ago, because I've been rambling, so I forgive you.
You forgive me. Thank you.
Oh, let's real quick, the professor scene.
Yes.
Now, when the killer breaks in and grabs him, the killer starts like just pounding on his teeth with every surface he can find. And the fact that they don't use a dummy, they actually use him.
Right.
And they're really trying not to break the actor's teeth. It doesn't really work as well as it should.
No.
You can tell the killer's holding back.
Well, yes, of course.
And then the killer kills him with his own sword replica that he was going to use as a self-defense weapon.
Yeah, when he picked it up, he kind of was like, yeah. You kind of made this face like, yeah.
I'm set. But so the killer, that tells me the killer set up the wind-up toy that there's no way that thing walked through the hallway in real life. Obviously on strings.
Obviously.
So that right there, credence goes out the window. Credibility. But that means the killer set up that distraction, went around the side, attacked him through the side door, and didn't have a weapon ready.
Yeah, how do you have that much preparation without having any?
Right. The killer's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to town on those teeth. And then it's like, oh, sword. Hey, neat.
Sweet. And then there's that shot of him, what is it, almost like hitting, did he hit like the mantle or something?
First the mantle, then the desk.
Yeah. Right. So that was
I got a nice screenshot of the desk
yes,
part, because that was the best shot.
Seen it a couple of times on rotation already. Profondo Rosso.
I love that picture of just him, like he comes up. No, it looks nice, Dario.
Apparently, Lucio Fulci? He had a shop in Italy called
he called it
Profondo Rosso after this movie.
I think it's a coffee shop or a bar.
Something
like that.
But he named it after this movie.
Mm-hmm. We got to get some Fulci films. Jesus Christ.
That's coming.
And that's the thing. I mean, all of these giallo films that have a huge following, it's a branch off of exploitation cinema, which to me says the quality is not there.
No.
It's just the same as like being fond of Last House on the Left, let's say. Not a well-made film. There's some credibility to the film being why there's reasons why everyone still likes it. But I mean, they're low budget and they stretch credibility because they're really just going for visuals and raw feeling, and that's understandable, and that's why people like the films. So it almost sounds nitpicky, like going through Argento stuff and saying, "Oh, this is stupid, and this is stupid, and this is stupid." Because we know that. We don't care, Scott. Shut up. But
hey, now.
Did I skip a murder? I feel like I skipped a murder.
Okay, so you had Helga.
Yeah.
And went right to the author.
Right.
And then
no, maybe not.
Then to the professor.
Right.
Then
his drinking buddy comes back. So he's at the house investigating the house because that's going to give him clues, and somehow, of course, it does because. And I think it's like the one.
We're in the third act in this point, so anything that you're seeing it's integral to the story.
Yeah, I think a common thread amongst a lot of these giallo films is that the investigating lead character is usually not a policeman. He's a private detective, or he's a musician, or he's a journalist. They make these weird leaps in logic, and they always pay off.
Yeah,
it's just part of the thing, So when he goes to the house, he finds the room that was closed off, and we see that the aftermath of the opening scene from the film, a dead guy in a chair, Christmas tree is still there. So now we put two and two together, and we got this picture, kid's drawing of a murder. And, he left before that piece of plaster fell off, so he doesn't realize there's like it would have made a difference. Like if he had been standing there and that fell off, we're like, oh, now I know who it is. No.
Nope.
No. So he goes back to call. He goes back and he's calling. I think they're calling. Are they calling the police at that point from the
If I remember correctly, the intention to at least call the police was mentioned.
Right.
So,
but then he sees that kid's drawing and he gets rough with that little girl and he makes her talk.
Yeah.
And then they break into the elementary school and he tracks down the picture. And who drew that picture? His gay alcoholic piano friend.
Right.
And I'm only including the gay part in there because they reveal it as part of the character. Interestingly.
Yes.
When he goes to the apartment to find his alcoholic friend, and he's answered the door by an effeminate man
with a mustache.
It's actually an actress dressed up.
I knew that.
But I just think it's interesting that instead of getting a guy dressed up like a girl, they got a girl dressed up like a guy, dressed up like a girl, pretending he's a man, pretending it's Victor Victoria.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a weird choice.
I did think that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting that they decided to go in this direction.
I honestly, I didn't realize it was actually a woman until I read it somewhere.
No, I knew immediately.
Well, that's because you're Italian.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I'm just saying things.
You know what's interesting? Before he started speaking, I just assumed it was a woman with a hair lip. I was just like, oh, it's just a woman with a hairy lip. I mean, it happens.
Wait, or hair lip or hairy lip? There's a difference.
Oh, you're right. Hair lip is the
yes.
the cleft palate kind of thing.
Like
yes.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hairy lip.
Right. Okay.
I was just like, oh, she's
difference.
Just it is a huge difference, actually.
Mom has a hairy lip. Mom has a hair lip. Huge difference.
Huge. One needs surgery to be fixed.
Right.
But when the scene came, before he started speaking, I was just like, oh, didn't wax this week. I just really, I just assumed it was a woman.
Italian women.
You know. I just assumed it was a woman that just forgot to wax. And then he started talking. I'm like, oh, okay. I see what they're aiming for.
But anyway. So they're at the elementary school, and he finds the kid's drawing. He's like, I know who the killer is now. And it turns out that the name on the drawing was done by his piano friend.
Yes.
Again, loose threads all lead back to the same thing. It makes no sense whatsoever. So his alcoholic friend stabs Gianna, and then holds him at gunpoint. It's like, I gotta kill you. But then the cops show up, and he runs.
Right.
And then probably one of the funniest scenes ever.
Well, before he runs, he's emotional because he goes, I really liked you. I told you not to get involved, like we were talking about earlier in the episode.
And we all know, because he doesn't confess. He just says, I have to stop you. This is that. So it's never actually said, I killed all those people.
Right.
So you know that this is a red herring.
Yes. And then, go ahead, the funniest scene ever.
Oh, if you want, you can describe it. I mean, he's running away from the cops.
And he gets hit by a truck.
Well, not even hit by a truck. The truck has scrap metal in the back. And he grabs his leg and
he gets
drags
dragged
him down the street.
And he's just dragging. And then his head gets run over, Toxic Avenger style.
No. Before
well,
that,
that's a movie that's 9 years later, but still.
2 or 3 shots of him, like,
that's true.
And then as they hit corners, it's whipping him against the curbs, smack.
And the guys driving inside have no idea, and they're kind of like laughing, or like they're just kind of something's going on in there. They're just talking. They're just like, hey, you catch that movie?
And
I don't hear that, but you can kind of get the gist of what might be happening inside this vehicle.
And I'm sorry, and I don't think there's any connection whatsoever. But speaking of Hitchcock, for some reason I flash back to the truck scene in Frenzy. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
the hilarious scene where he's wrestling with the corpse in a potato truck, and like the foot hits him in the mouth. Like, aren't dead women wacky?
So wacky.
But I don't think that's related because I'm pretty sure Frenzy came after this. I'm gonna check real quick.
Frenzy was 78.
No, before this. 72.
72.
I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure I just saw 72. Yeah, 72. So
okay.
Argento could have been influenced by that to have another truck scene with a killer.
Sure.
Again, there's really nothing connecting the two except the truck's involved, but I just get that feeling.
Right. There's his head about to be run over.
Oh yeah, great. Like,
I mean, the timing is good. We were talking about him being dragged, and those scenes in the slideshow came up.
I think meant timing the movie. It's well shot. I mean, like they really.
We do that all the time, where we're talking about it, and it just happens to come up on the slideshow. Just
like an Argento screenplay.
Just like it.
Right. So that whole thing happens, and then so the pianist is walking home, and he's like, "Wait a minute."
He started thinking about it more.
He can't be the killer. He was outside when I went up. He was there when I saw the murder happening.
Right.
How come that didn't occur to me before I had the cops chase him to his death? Damn. And this is the only reason I give this film credit as being one of the few Argento films that like works, is because this is when he goes up, he breaks into the apartment that still has the police tape on it. He walks down the hall trying to figure out what's happening, and that picture just was up and is up now. and he realizes that the picture he thought he saw, and it's actually, if you go back and watch the opening scene, it's there. So it's not even like they cheat. The picture he thought he saw was actually a mirror that was showing another painting, and in front of that painting was standing the killer. So he actually saw the killer, but he thought it was a painting.
Got it.
And I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool when I first
Yeah,
saw
no,
it.
well, I did go back, after I watched it, I did go back and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of neat that they actually did that.
Yeah, I mean, and with all the red herrings and the leaps of logic that defy any reality, that works. It's always worked for me. I think it's clever. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't Argento's.
No.
And then you said before with the arm wrestling scene between Gianna and Marcus that there's a setup there. He does talk about men being stronger than women.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to go for. And he does arm wrestle her, and he accuses her of cheating, and then she's like, okay, I give up. You're a big, strong man. But they do go through they do make it a point for him to say that men are stronger than women. Women are weaker. They're more gentle. They're softer. And it really hammers home that the whole reason that this woman is killing everyone is because, or this woman, well, go ahead. You can reveal it.
Oh, no, I'm not revealing that part yet. But maybe going back more to that woman thing, the director's cut, there's some additional scenes of him and Gianna driving around in her car where the doors don't work and they have to climb to the roof.
Right.
With the little like wacky music behind it, because this is the lighthearted part. And it's weird, like Argento, like when Argento did his version of Dawn of the Dead, he took out all the comedy. Yet in the Deep Red director's cut, all the comedy goes back in.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Another reason I feel
and
like he's an inconsistent director.
Yes, and the thing is, as much as there are scenes in the Argento cut that make no sense of Dawn of the Dead, but
they work better.
But they're cooler. Yeah, they work better. Like the one shot where
I know what you're going to say.
I know you know exactly what I'm going to say. It's the shot where they're all looking, like through like the boarded up part.
It's the SWAT scene in the beginning of the film, right?
Yes, and they're all looking through there, and in the Argento cut, the arms just come through and the goblin music starts. Brrr, know? And in the Romero cut, there's really no build up to it. It's like, oh, there's zombies over there.
They open the door and then the arms come through.
Right.
But with I'm hope I'm not getting it backwards, but I'm pretty sure with the Argento cut, they knock open the door, and then there's like 10 seconds of them staring.
Yeah, it makes no sense because they should have been looking at zombies the entire time. Exactly.
But it's so much better. It works better.
It is so much better because the Romero cut, it's... Listen, I love that Argento took all the music out and put it in his own, made all the edits, because the Romero cut, the music that they use in a lot of spots is terrible.
Yeah.
Especially the end of the film where... what's his face? Right, and he's thinking about shooting his brains out, and then he decides not to, and it's like dun 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 dun. It's like A-Team style. It's just like dun 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 dun. America's great.
I used to have conversations about the Dawn of the Dead versions with a racist comic book store owner, and I would complain about Romero's song at the end of that during the mall scene, the end credit scene, when they're showing the mall with the zombies. And he was like, yeah, well, that's the kind of music you'd play at a mall. I was like, dude, have you ever been to a fucking mall?
No.
Well, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I brought up the car scenes that they cut out is that when we talk about the whole male versus female, dominance, submissiveness, or let's just say dominance, it's not really about submissiveness as much about which sex is more dominant. Again, his friend is an alcoholic who's kind of, he's not dominant at all. He's very weak, and he's also homosexual, which I don't know if that calls him weak, but from the 70s standpoint, it's part of the character. So there's femininity there as opposed to the male dominance that Marcus keeps talking about. He's a pianist, so he shouldn't be talking to anybody about male dominancy. But also, the whole thing with the car, if you'll remember, when he gets in the car, his seat slams down, so he's lower than her.
Right. And
that's important.
Yes.
That's, again, that's where Argento works as a director. This is where I give him credit. Not only are we adding levity into the film as a breath of fresh air and establishing a character between these two, we're also showing that he is beneath the female in this. He is not the dominant, no matter how much he wants to be.
Very true. Very, very true.
So,
yeah.
which of course is really displayed when at the end an old lady starts bitch slapping him. With the meat cleaver.
Because you find out that it's Carlo's mother who killed.
Well, he meets earlier.
Yeah, he meets earlier, but
with the best running gag in the whole film. Oh yeah, you're an engineer. No, I'm a piano player. the engineer, right? No, piano player. 10 times, because it's so funny.
Yes, hilarious. So she kills his father because the father says that the son should have to go back to.
No.
What?
He wanted to send her back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't know why I lost that in translation.
He wanted her to go back to a psychiatric hospital, and it turns out he was right.
Yeah. So she kills him in front of her son, and that kind of scars her son for the rest of his life. And
that's all foreshadowed, because like when I drink, I'm happy. Like this is a guy just trying to drown reality out of his fucking life.
Right. And of course, no matter what his mother does, he's attached to her completely. So she's killing people, and he's, he knows that it's happening, and he's trying to cover it up with his friend and Gianna at the end. They know too much. I told you to stay out of this. All of that.
And his friend almost slips up at the beginning, because when he realizes that his friend was out there when the killer walked by, he said, "Did you see a man walk by here before?" And he goes, "A man? No." Because he didn't see a man walk by. He saw a woman walk by, his mother.
Right.
Dressed like a mafioso.
Yeah, with the hat and the just leather jacket. It's ridiculous.
Well, to be fair, she was trying to, protect her identity while killing people, so I'll give her that.
That is very true. Very true.
And
so, during the tussle, her necklace gets caught in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Marcus do? He sends that shit up.
And I like that usually in films like this...
that was a high-quality piece of jewelry, I will say that.
For sturdy, very sturdy.
Yes.
I've always hated the cliche where we can't have the hero kill the villain because the hero is bad, becomes bad too. In this case, he's like, no. Oh, really? Bam. Hit that button. And I don't think that the elevator necklace decapitation scene is really brought up enough when people talk about Argento. Maybe I'm not in the right conversations about Argento, but I really feel like it's a very overlooked scene that doesn't get a lot of attention. And I think it's, there's one shot of the necklace pulling tight, and then they cut to an obvious like gelatin neck, and it pulls through, and then the severed head falls.
Right.
And then at the ending, and I've always remembered the visual of the ending where it's just Marcus's reflection in the blood, where he's like, "Oh God, but I can't look away. But oh God, but I can't." And then at the end, Argento's ego kicks in. He goes, "Oh, by the way, you've been watching Dario Argento's Deep Red."
That's right.
In case you forgot, I did this.
That's right, bitch.
Yeah.
But because even the movie poster says, "When was the last time you were really scared?" Psycho, Jaws, which obviously they threw Jaws in there because it came out the same year. So,
well, I used to have the original movie poster for Suspiria, or one of the originals. I
think you gave it to me.
Yes, I did, and because I didn't have the space for it. And
it's in a box somewhere. Now that I'm in the new, thank you, I love you too. But once I truly get acclimated into the house, I'm putting up movie posters in this room, and that's going to be one of the posters. But the
tagline of that was the only thing scarier than the first 17 minutes of this film or the last 87 or numbers of that effect.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So they're always doing that. But I mean, like that for me, that title at the end, if you've been watching Dario Argento's Deep Red, I feel like that feeds into like the ego I always get from Argento, where he's one of these directors like, He's like the Tim Burton of horror films. It's like, I'm an artist and I'm gonna shove your face into it every chance I get because you know what? I'm a goddamn artist. He's like, yeah, but are you?
Are you really?
and again, I don't want to take anything away. If anybody's watching this and they're Argento fans, so was I, and I still am to an extent. I still like this movie, but I'm willing to point out the drastic flaws. Espresso, please. I'm willing to point out the flaws, because really, he's like Kevin Smith. Let someone else write your fucking movies, direct a little bit, and learn something.
Right. Well, even Kevin Smith has come out and said that he makes fun of himself for not being a good director.
But that's his fallback, his self-deprecation.
That is not. That is true. That is not a lie.
That's another reason why I get tired of that. It's like, again, not, I don't know him as a person. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, it's.
I've said it forever. I think I would have a blast hanging out with him.
Yeah, probably. I'm not a dick. Yeah, I would. It's not like I ever bumped into him. I'd be like, fuck you. What was it? Jersey Girl was a fucking sham. Like, no, I'd be like, dude, I saw Clerks 3 times in the theater. It's like there were good times too.
Yeah.
I can't make it through 5 minutes of Red State. I'd be like, no, I thought Tusk was fucking cool. Why be a dick? If I bumped into Argento, I'd be like, hey, when I was a dumb teenager, I loved your stuff.
Well, that was dumb. Now I'm not so dumb.
Now I'm not so dumb, but I still get a kick out of it.
Exactly.
Opera's got some great scenes. Does it make a lick of sense in the story frame? No. And let's not talk about Dario Argento's Phantom of the Opera.
Let's not do that. Let's save that for when we challenge it to each other.
I am not a man. I am a rat. Adrian Sands watches his career like sands through the hourglass.
Sands.
It's all down here.
Julian Sands?
Julian Sands, sorry. Okay. I'm thinking of Adrian Brody. Julian Sands, yeah.
Yeah.
They go, everyone loved you in fucking Warlock. Now look at you.
That's right. Everyone did like him in Warlock.
I was raised by rats. Have you met the Penguin?
Yeah. What the fuck? Have you ever seen Willard?
Yeah. Again, Argento.
Read that book?
See, Tim Burton, Penguins in the sewer. Argento's like, rats in the sewer. Yeah, that works.
It works.
And anyway, yeah, I mean, great visuals in the film.
Yes.
Again, I will until I go back and revisit like some of his older stuff, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Cat o' Nine Tails. Those I really haven't seen those. I saw those like once when I was a kid. So, I can't really compare this to those at this point. But as far as like comparing to the ones that everybody talks about, the Witches trilogy, Opera, Stendhal Syndrome, Jesus fucking Christ. This is the only one out of those where I think that there's a good movie there. Well, it still has flaws, but
of course. And you know what? If you go to the IMDb page, it's very high on IMDb. It's a 7.6 on IMDb.
This is Joey's way of trying to wrap up the show.
It's my way of moving along. Yes.
Yes, I agree. I think we've
already talked about the ending. I mean, there's really nothing much more to talk about.
I've outlined the main points I had about it. I think we've kind of covered the gamut of the film.
There you go.
Great visuals, shitty storyline, but I like the resolution at the end, and I think it has a solid ending. Now, like Phenomena.
No. No, but for Argento, it's solid.
It's no monkey decapitation by mirror. I'll give you that. And I might be a little foggy on those facts, but even if I'm not, that's still fucking wrong. But yeah, 7.6. I think people recognize this as one of his better films.
I think so.
Maybe not most popular. It definitely makes a shitload more sense than Suspiria ever did, and I don't, defend that all you want. Great visuals, but little else.
Yeah.
I mean, I would give this film a solid 7. I don't know if I'd go 8.
No, I would never go 8 on this, just because once you delve into the 8 area, in my opinion, you're talking about potentially Oscar-nominated stuff.
See, when you say Deep Red, 8 stars, immediately I flash to that doll running at the professor through the room.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, 7.
Yeah, no one. I mean, you have some diehards that probably gave this 8s, 9s, and 10s, but no, this is a 7. This is an above average. This is an above average film. It's one of Dario Argento's best, if not the best thing he's ever done.
Again, with a couple of exceptions that I have to go back and rewatch, I would say this is his best work. Every
Definitely.
director has. There's any director that has a fan base. You're going to have disagreements on that. Whatever. This is mine.
There you go.
So you want to say 7?
7 is fine.
7 it is.
Yep.
And see, last time I got I was able to get the demographics, and there they are. Wow, a lot of 18 and unders on this one. I mean, compared to last week's episode.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, it's really like 6 and 7 across the board. The lowest one is females under 18, and they're right. For being a film that's pro feminine dominance, it's still a very misogynistic film when it comes to the murders. But I think that's when you're killing women. I just really think that's not avoidable.
Yeah, true.
It's me.
Yeah. All right.
So Joey.
Yes.
Are we still going to be in 1975 next week?
Fuck yeah.
What we got?
So, I mean, and believe me, I want to get to 1976. That is my birth year. So we're going with another horror film.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Believe me, there's a few more things we can do in 1975, but I want to challenge this one. Although I think at some point you will challenge this to me if we stayed in 1975. Anyway.
All right.
But I actually made this decision. I had a short list of films. I had a short list of films, 3 actually, that I was going to challenge you to.
Okay.
But when we were talking earlier, you were talking about your upcoming trip that you're going to be going on.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I got to go with this film because these people are going they're going to the same state.
Really?
They're going from Texas to Colorado. And I was like, I have to challenge Scott to this movie.
No, wait. This isn't Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right,
I'll give you the
different
synopsis. 2 couples vacationing together in an RV from Texas to Colorado are terrorized after they witness a murder during a satanic ritual. Starring Peter Fonda, Warren Oates, and Loretta Swit.
Why am I drawing a blank on this?
Because it's not very popular. Once you hear the title of the film, you'll be like, oh yeah, but I've never seen it. It came out in 1975.
Not The Hills Have Eyes.
It's not The Hills Have Eyes.
What? Huh.
It does have the word race in the title and the word devil in the title.
Race with the Devil?
It is Race with the Devil.
I think I've only seen movie posters. I don't think I've definitely never watched that.
I've never seen this film, but when you said you were going to Colorado, I'm like, these people are terrorized going from Texas to Colorado. I'm like, this I have to.
Now I have. Oh, just watching that this weekend. Get the little lady strapped in. We're doing this together.
Yeah, there you go.
Man.
I mean, talk about, sending a film your way that it's just like you're about to leave from Texas to go to Colorado, and these people are doing the same thing.
Now I got to rent an RV.
You got to rent an RV. Just don't make meth in it.
And they accidentally see a satanic ritual?
Well, it says here, that's
a run of bad luck.
They say they witness a murder during a satanic ritual.
So it's not just the satanic ritual they witness, but the actual murders that takes place during it. Because otherwise it'd be like, oh, look at that.
Well, they're probably out in the middle of nowhere. Again, I haven't seen the film. I'm assuming they're in an RV, so they're living in this RV as they travel. And they probably park this thing in the middle of nowhere, and they are out in nature. And I can imagine that they see something, which turns out to be the satanic ritual, and someone is murdered. And they freak out. They probably go back to the RV. They see them, and now they're being chased. I'm guessing that that's how that goes, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty close.
I just feel like I feel like it's like Judgment Night was a remake of this,
You're right.
except instead of witnessing a satanic ritual, it's Dennis Leary killing a guy, which is almost the same thing, really.
Almost the same thing.
Oh, that's it. Nice to dig. I mean, this last movie that we reviewed, I was happy to rewatch an old film I hadn't seen in a while and watch different versions of it and get down and dirty with just like comparing the two. And really, when you get a chance, watch the director's cut.
Well,
if you watch my version,
that's gonna be the version that I'm gonna end up keeping in my collection. So I'll watch it.
All I'm saying is that when you do watch it, if you watch the cut I've got where it's dubbed except for the scenes that were cut out, you even if you don't recognize some of the scenes, it'll kind of really tell you what you're watching.
Okay.
And it's really interesting to see what they cut out and how it's like, okay, it's longer and less scary, but there's also more, humanity in this. So
All right.
it's really hard to say which cut's better.
Well, yeah.
Which is why I'm keeping both.
I might just do the same thing as well.
That's why I have
no one's going to appreciate it but me, so I may as well just do it.
See, that's why I have four copies of Dawn of the Dead.
I do too.
And I used to have 3 copies of Supergirl. I trimmed that down to 2, so I'm doing better.
Did I just keep the European cut? I think I just kept the European cut.
If you're going to keep a cut of Supergirl, it might as well be the 2-hour and 20-minute version. Am I right?
That's right, baby. It's just the way
we are.
Oh my God! Yeah, but Dawn of the Dead. So I have theatrical.
Right.
I have the Argento cut.
Mm-hmm.
I have the extended cut, and then there's an extended mall cut or something.
It's a fan edit where they took all the versions together. So like it's the Argento version, but with the humorous cuts from Romero's, the whole thing.
Yeah. So I have 4 cuts too.
Now, I've never actually watched like all 4 in a row.
No.
I don't think I've ever watched 2 in a row. I've just like throughout my life I've watched. I've never watched the mall cut edit, the fan edit.
Me neither. I have it. I've never done it.
Because I've already seen the film 50 times by now. I'm almost not interested, but I have to have it. But sometime I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, true. Very true.
But I think that's the film I have the most versions of.
Yeah, no, I don't have.
Yeah,
I don't have another film where I have that many.
And everybody's talking about alternate versions now that the Zack Snyder Justice League cut's coming out. My God, I'm hard just thinking about it. Oh, and I like the Joss
Whedon cut of it. Yeah,
I liked it. It was fun, but
I liked it too.
want to see Zack's cut.
Oh yeah, it's going to be darker. It's going to have more meat.
What amazed me is like when you watch the first trailer they gave, not that new one where it's the whole box thing, but when they had the first trailer, the Comic-Con trailer,
right?
I was just blown away by how much new material was just in the trailer.
Oh yeah, no, it's a
4-hour
cut.
This is like bigger than the Donner cut. The Donner cut used to be the gold standard of like alternate versions.
Right. Yeah. No, this is huge. They've already said that you're going to be watching an almost completely different film.
And the thing is, Holly still has not watched Justice League, and she has no interest in it. She's really kind of fallen out of the superhero thing.
Okay.
And I want to force her to watch it, and then I want to tie her down and force her to watch the 4-hour version with me.
Yeah, that's 6 hours of Justice League.
6 of it. Is it just 2 hours? I thought it was like 2.5.
No, it's like an hour and 55 minutes. It's
really?
just
it feels long.
It's a 2-hour movie, and then this is supposed to be a 4-hour cut.
Yeah.
So the only thing I don't like, and I've talked to you about this, and I said we would talk about it on the show, so we may as well spend 5 minutes and talk about it right now.
Okay.
The aspect ratio of all the trailers, if anyone has noticed, it is a 4:3 full screen aspect ratio. And Zack Snyder, Zack Snyder. Well, if anyone doesn't know what 4:3 is, just look up on Google. Just Google CRT television, okay? Or CRT monitor. Just a big fucking square. That is a 4:3 aspect ratio. What you have come to know as your widescreen television, which is a 1:8:5 widescreen aspect ratio. From what I understand, Zack Snyder has gone out on record to say that his cut of this film that you will be watching on HBO Max is going to be in 4:3 because his intention was for this to be shown on the big giant IMAX screens. Now, that's all fine and great, but I don't have a fucking giant IMAX screen in my fucking house. I have widescreen televisions.
Suck it up.
Stop it. So, and what I also think is going to happen.
How many pixels on that screen?
So many pixels. So many. So what I think is going to happen is, HBO Max is a streaming service. They want to make money. They want to make money on this because from what I understand, the movie cost $250 million initially. Okay. I guess you can include print and advertising in that, but the initial cost was $250. Zack Snyder leaves around 95% of the way through the film. Okay. Warner Brothers brings in Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon decides to heavily cut scenes of this down to a 2-hour movie and include a shit ton of reshoots. So they ended up spending something like an extra $50 million in that range because Henry Cavill was making another film where he had a full beard.
Yeah.
And they had to CGI out this fucking beard because he couldn't shave it for this other movie he was doing. And it is so noticeable. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I don't feel the same way. I still think everybody makes too big a deal out of that, and I feel like it's one of those excuses people make.
Well, no. Listen, I enjoy the Justice League, even with the CGI Cavill. But here's my problem with it.
Yeah.
The fact that so much of the film was cut out for these reshoots is what bothers me. Not that they spent money to CGI it out.
Well, and don't forget, too.
Just give me a break. You have 4-hour cut of the movie. Why?
And don't forget, too, Zack Snyder wasn't like fired off the set like with Donner or like say with the two different versions of
The
Payback.
Exorcist? Oh.
No, I'm thinking Payback. Fuck The Exorcist. But like Zack Snyder had a family tragedy and had to leave.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like, oh yeah, you're fucking this up. We're kicking you out. Let's bring in someone to fix it. It was like, okay, Josh, come in here and finish this. He's like, oh yeah, let's fix this.
Right.
It's like, wait, no, that's not what we wanted to do. But, and I'm sure the studios were behind Joss doing it. But what I find interesting is that Zack Snyder had a darker version of Justice League, and Joss Whedon made it lighter.
He's got some comedy in there, just some lighthearted effects. Like, for instance...
Well, no, hold on.
Okay.
I want to make a point here.
Okay.
But rewind back to Firefly.
Oh.
And the big thing with Firefly is he did a pilot, and then the network was like, oh, this is too dark. You need to make it funnier. And so they purposely made the new pilot just goofy, like almost like they were making fun of themselves for being so goofy. Like he's like,
yeah.
It's like the big joke was like he did it to spite the network because they made him do a new pilot because they thought it was too dark. And then he does the exact opposite with Justice League. So in some ways, I feel like Joss really is a wimp when it comes to standing up to studios.
Probably. It's probably, yeah.
And I love Joss Whedon's stuff, so I'm not bashing him.
I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Love that.
But I feel like his artistic integrity is a little lower than some of these people that like walk off of like these, like Nolan when he was supposed to do Batman, the first Batman years ago, and he was like, no, I'm not doing it.
You mean Aronofsky.
Aronofsky, I meant. Thank you.
Yeah.
So many different names. Like Aronofsky was like, he wanted to do year one. It's like, and it's like, we don't want to do that. It's like, well, fuck you, I'm leaving. And now we're getting year one.
Now Matt Reeves is doing year one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, but you just like all these directors that like walk off of these jobs or get fired halfway through because they won't cede this artistic integrity of their vision. And Joss is like, all right. So I mean, he still makes good films. I'm not knocking him as a person.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just kind of weird that you have that dichotomy. That's all.
But Zack Snyder has said, no one is doing movies in 4:3. I wanted something different. It was intended for IMAX, so this is the version you're going to see. Personally, I don't fucking care. Hey,
if Wes I'm a fucking artist Anderson can do four different ratios.
Oh right.
In a hotel, Budapest Hotel, whatever it's called.
The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Thank you, Grand Budapest Hotel. Give him the 4.3. Stop busting his balls.
No. Well, here's the thing. He's saying that now. That's how you're going to see it on HBO Max. If you subscribe, I don't believe there is going to be an extra cost for it. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. I know it comes out next week. It comes out on March 18th, which is a week from today.
I can't fucking wait. Oh, yeah. But the one thing I want to say real quick is that with the whole Justice League Zack Snyder cut has brought up the whole alternate version things, and maybe it's because I'm almost 50, but like I've been invited to Facebook groups about films, like the Joe Bob Briggs thing and the horror fans thing, and everybody just wants to fucking scream and fight about what's good and what's bad, and I'm getting tired of it. Even though that's what we do here, but I think we do it out of love. I mean, like we're reviewing films that are bad, but usually we love them anyway.
Of course.
I mean, again, this movie case in point, but I'm, if you breeze through YouTube, and again, the guys with the 10 or 12 minute reviews that are trying to just to placate is like, oh, this is why Justice League sucked balls, and this is why Suicide Squad was the worst film ever. It's like, all right, cut me some slack. But now they're doing the same thing with this alternate version, saying which alternate version was better. And a lot of these alternate versions, like Payback specifically, I like both versions.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that after I watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm still going to love the other one too.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. I saw the original Justice League in a theater, and I really enjoyed it. It was funny. Because if you go on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media sites, HBO is heavily, pushing Justice League because it is coming out in another week, but they've been pushing it for months.
Oh, yeah.
So I was on YouTube, and it came across, I was looking at something, and then it came across, and or I was on Facebook before it took me to YouTube, and I was looking at the comments, and one person basically said, and they're not doing this, by the way. They were going to release it in 4 parts, like a mini-series, but now they're just releasing it just 1 4-hour cut. But this person obviously didn't realize that they were doing it in 1 cut instead of the 4-part mini-series. So this person said, I really hate that they're doing it in a mini-series. I'm just going to wait, I don't think I'm going to watch this yet. I think I'll wait until it's 1 cut of the film, because I think that's what I really want to do. And someone replied to him, and all they said was, no one fucking cares what you're going to do. And I just laughed so hard. It's like, nobody fucking cares what you're going to do.
You know what? Like, a lot of this comes down to, like, people want to make it personal because they want to argue.
Right.
And again, I admit the personal aspects of my relationship with Argento's work, but at the same time, we're discussing critically a film. So we're going to discuss the merits of it, good or bad. Like the YouTube series, they have everything wrong with and everything great about. I love both those series, and like when they have they have certain ones, everything wrong with a film I love, I just don't watch it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like the whole idea is let's get people into an argument about which version is better. So can we just enjoy both? I mean, but every time, very few director's cuts actually make the film better. They just make a different film, and usually, like, what's the that low budget truck film with Candy Cane?
That was Joyride.
When you get the special edition, they reshot the last half hour. That the whole third act is different in the original version, but they reshot it because of test audiences. When you go back and watch both versions, it's like, yeah, you know what? Both have their pluses and minuses. Very seldom is it like, okay, we took a piece of shit and made excellence out of it. Rarely is that the case. Even the Downer cut is like, okay, I can see why they wanted to get rid of some stuff, but this is interesting. I find it more interesting than polarizing. And I think there's way too much polarizing in all this stuff. And I just realized now I started the show by saying, fuck you. So I'm really not making a good case. But
No. But it's fine. It's fine.
And again, like I said, 2 different versions of Argento. I think both are interesting cuts of the film. Both have their pluses and minuses.
Yeah. So all in all, we're done reviewing Deep Red. We're done talking about Justice League. I think that we're going to be forced to watch the 4-hour cut in some IMAX 4:3 aspect ratio nonsense, and then
fuck that version.
And then magically, you're going to find out, later on, possibly soon, that there's going to be this other glorious, either 185, 235, 240, perfect widescreen cut of the movie.
Definitely possible.
No, it's not possible. There's definitely going to be a widescreen version of this. There is no way that the 4:3 aspect ratio is going to be the version that you are going to watch forever. It is not going to happen. I will fucking put money on it.
I wouldn't bet against you. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and end this because we're like 35 minutes longer than I actually intended.
I'm sorry. It's your fault.
It is my fault. I'm not. No, it's my fault.
I'm gonna 3D print a copy of the Justice League Zack Snyder cut, and I'm just gonna fuck it.
All right. You can
Nothing
go.
on. What? No, everything's fine. Sorry.
You can go to our website at moviesucktastic.com. You can. All you got to do is enable Adobe Flash. I know. I haven't redesigned the site yet. It's coming. I promise.
We're working on it. We'll also have a new opening as soon as Joey gets me the music.
Yes, I know. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I promise. That is a promise. I will do it. As long as it's on my computer, which I believe it is. You can download our show from our website. You can go to iTunes and you can get it from there. You can also just do a general search on Google for Moviesucktastic, and you will find our shit literally everywhere. So you can also go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic. You can listen to our rants and ravings over there. Everything we post goes there. You can leave us email, themovieguys@moviesucktastic.com. You can leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. And we hope to hear from you. Mr. Wilson, do you have any words of wisdom?
A perverted mind. Murderous mind.
Murderous mind. You will kill again. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you for joining us as always.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye. No, seriously, I'm gonna fuck Snyder's copy.
I know you are.
I'm gonna. Oh.
I'm not even gonna question it. I just know it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna wreck that movie.
You might call me afterwards. I might not answer the phone because it'll be March 18th, and I'll be like, he's calling me.
I'm gonna live stream it.
He just had sex with Justice League Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's Justice League. See,
Always
I
leaving
even
me.
said it backwards. I've never felt this way about anything. All right, let's fade this shit out now.
All right.
Okay. Bye. Yeah.